It's strange how two people can live in the same city, work at the same company, get paid the same wages, face the same challenges, yet one rises and the other stalls. Now you might think the difference is education, or talent or luck, but I'll tell you what. It usually comes down to attitude. See, attitude is the hinge, the swing of the door. It's the filter through which you see everything else. If your attitude is right, every obstacle becomes a lesson. If your attitude is sour, every blessing looks like a burden. And the longer I live, the more convinced I am that altitude in life, how high you go, how far you climb, is almost always a reflection of attitude. Now, I didn't learn this in some book. I learned it in the fields of Idaho. I grew up poor, but I wasn't poor in spirit. My parents gave me more than money could buy. They gave me philosophy, they gave me attitude. I watched my father labor hard and still whistle while he worked. I watched my mother stretch a little into a lot and never complain. That's where I learned the power of outlook. And later, when I got around successful men like Mr. Schoff, I saw the same principle on a different stage. Let me ask you, what's more important than the way you see things? Not what happens, but the meaning you give to it. Two men lose their job. One says, "This is the end." The other says, "This is the beginning." Which one will climb again? The one with the attitude that turns loss into leverage. I'll give you another example. I knew a fellow years ago. Same opportunity as everyone else. Same product, same compensation plan. But he carried around what I call a defeatist vocabulary, always saying, "I can't, it won't. I'm unlucky." And sure enough, his results matched his words. Another man, same plan. Same product, different attitude. He'd say, "I'll learn it. I'll find a way, tomorrow will be better." Who do you think earned the big commission checks? Attitude, multiplied everything else. Attitude is contagious too. Spend enough time around complainers, and you'll catch their disease. Spend enough time with visionaries, and your eyes will start lifting too. That's why I always say, mind your associates. Who you spend time with will either lift your altitude or drag it down. Now here's the secret. You can't always change the circumstances, but you can change yourself. You can't always control the wind, but you can set a better sail. And the sail is your attitude. A good sail takes you across the ocean. A broken sail leaves you drifting. So if you want to change your altitude, check the set of your sail. Check your attitude, not the economy. Not the government, not your neighbor. Not your boss. Check you. Because you carry the atmosphere of your own future inside your own mind. That's where it starts, not with the outside world, but with the inside world. 2 SALSMEN go out into the same neighborhood. Both knock on 20 doors, 19 people say no. One goes home defeated. He tells his wife, "This business doesn't work. People aren't interested. I knew I wasn't cut out for it." The other comes home and says, "Honey, today I was only one step away. 19 told me no. But I know the next one is going to say yes." Now which salesman is going to last? Which one is going to see the reward at the end of the process? Not the one who quit on door 19. The one who turned a no into fuel for the next try. That's the power of interpretation. Same neighborhood, same doors. Same words spoken to them. The difference wasn't the market. The difference was the mindset. Attitude is the great divider. It separates the successful from the unsuccessful. Not because life treated one better, but because one treated life better. One took what came and made it a teacher. The other took what came and made it a bully. And what you decide to make of circumstances will determine whether those circumstances make you. I've met men with every advantage. Education, RESORCES. Connections. Yet they never rise because they carry a poor attitude. They complain, criticize. They doubt, and I've met men with very little. No money, no name. No support. Yet they rise anyway because they decide to stay positive, to keep moving, to keep trying. I used to think success was a matter of the big things. Later, I discovered it's the little things in your attitude, repeated daily, that make all the difference. A farmer controlled the seasons. He can't stop the rain from coming too heavy or too light. But what he can control is whether he prepres, whether he plants, whether hendures, and whether he harvests when the time is right. And all of that is wrapped up in attitude. If the farmer says the weather's against me, why bother planting? Then no seed goes into the ground and no harvest comes. But if he says I'll plant anyway, I'll work with what I have, I'll give it my best, then when the season turns, he has a crop. That's how life is. You don't get to choose the seasons, but you get to choose how you respond to them. That's attitude. And here's the hard truth. Excuses eat away at altitude. Every time you justify why you're not where you want to be. You trade growth for comfort. You trade altitude for attitude. And it's a bad deal. The man who says, I would if the government was different, or I would if my boss treated me better, or I would if I lived somewhere else. That man has chained his future to circumstances outside his control. But the one who says, I will because I choose, I will because I can, I will because my future depends on it, that man is free. So the dividing line is sharp. Will you blame or will you build? Will you complain or you climb? It isn't the money, it isn't the weather. It isn't the product, it's you. And that's why attitude always comes before altitude. Because if you can't win in your mind, you win in the marketplace. I used to think attitude was something small, like a mood. Wake up on the wrong side of the bed, frown all morning, then maybe shake it off by lunch. But I came to see that attitude is not just a passing mood. It's the foundation of philosophy. It's how you interpret life. It's the lens. And once you put on a certain lens, everything you see comes through that filter. Now here's the interesting part. Challenges don't change who you are. They reveal who you are if a problem shows up. And your first instinct is to complain. Then we learn something about your philosophy. If a problem shows up and you say, what can I learn from this? Then we learn something else. Same problem, different response. Different outcome. I'll never forget a story from my early business days. A young man came to one of my meetings all excited. He said, Mr. Rohn, I'm ready to get started. I've got dreams, I've got goals. I'm hungry. So he began. And for the first few weeks, he worked hard, but then he hit resistance. People said no, some laughed at him. He came back to me discouraged. He said, I didn't know it would be this hard. And I told him that's the test. Not whether the market is easy. The test is whether your attitude is strong enough to endure the difficulty. He didn't last. Why? Not lack of ability. Not lack of opportunity, lack of the right attitude. Contrast that with another man I met. Around the same time he faced the same rejection. He heard the same numbers. But he would come back too, Emmy with fire in his eyes. He'd say they said no today. But I'm closer to yes. They said no. But I'm learning how to answer OBJCTIONS. They said no. But at least I was out there doing something. He lasted and eventually he prospered. So the difference isn't the event. It's the meaning you attach to the event. That's why attitude is so powerful. It doesn't just affect how you feel. It dictates what you do next. Life will hand you bricks. Some are heavy, awkward, rough. You can use those bricks to build a wall. That KEPS you trapped OR. You can use those same bricks to build a foundation. That LIFTS you hire the BRICKS are the same. The builder is different. And here's the danger. A negative attitude DISTORTS reality. It MAKES opportunity look like risk. It MAKES effort look like futility. And it MAKES discipline look like punishment. Meanwhile, a positive attitude sharpens reality. It MAKES risk look like potential. It MAKES effort look like investment. And it MAKES discipline look like freedom. Two different lives built from the same facts. I used to say don't major in minor things. And one of the ways people major in minors is by keeping the wrong attitude. They let small problems grow into big walls. They let little INCUNV and INCES ruin whole days. And eventually, they let temporary SETBACKS define permanent LIMITS. But when you change your attitude, you shrink problems down to size. You say this is only a bump. This is only a season. This is only a chapter. And when you think like that, you keep climbing. Now, I don't mean to say that a positive attitude ELIMINATES difficulty. IT doesn't, but it EQIPS you too outlast difficulty. That's the distinction. The storm still comes. But the man with the right attitude BUILDS his house on rock not sand. And when the storm passes he's still standing. So ask yourself, what's the meaning you're giving to your CHLLNGS? Are they curses or are they CLASSROMS? Are they punishment or preparation? Your altitude tomorrow is being shaped by the answer you give today. One of the best ways I know to illustrate the power of attitude is through the airplane. Think about it. An airplane doesn't get off the ground because the wind is perfect. In fact, it often takes off against the wind. That resistance helps it lift. Now what determines whether the plane climbs higher or dips lower? Not the weather, not the storm, not the gravity. PILOTS call it the attitude of the aircraft. The angle of the nose compared to the horizon. Adjust the attitude and you adjust the altitude. That same principle applies to you. You can't eliminate gravity. You can't remove every storm. But you can adjust your personal attitude. And by doing so you determine how high you'll climb. Now how do you apply that every day? Start with mornings. The way you begin your day sets the frame. Some people wake up and immediately complain. Too early, too tired. Too much to do. And that complaint becomes the music of their whole day. Others wake up with gratitude. They say, thank God I've got another chance. I've got another sunrise. I've got work to do. And that means I've got purpose. Same alarm clock, different start, different day. Another daily habit is how you speak. Your words are the paintbrush of your attitude. If you're always saying I can't, I won't, I never, you're painting your life in dark colors. But if you say I can, I will, I'll try, I'll learn, you're painting in brighter colors. And here's the secret. You start to live inside the picture you paint. Your associations matter too. If you're around people who see everything as a problem, you'll start seeing problems everywhere. If you're around people who see opportunities, you'll start spotting chances you didn't even notice before. That's why I tell people, be careful who you spend time with. Attitude is more contagious than the flu. And then there's discipline. You see, discipline is the daily demonstration of attitude. If your attitude says I can rise higher, then your discipline will show it in your choices. You'll read the book, make the call, hit the gym, save the dollar. If your attitude says it matter, then your discipline will vanish. You'll skip, you'll delay. You'll waste, and little by little, those choices stack up into two very different lives. I'll give you an image. Imagine two men planting seeds. One has an attitude of faith. He plants every day, waters every day, works the field. The other has an attitude of doubt. He plants a little, complains a lot, skips days at harvest time. One has abundance, the other has regret. Now, was it luck? Was it weather? No. It was attitude made visible through action. And here's something practical. When problems show up, check your language. Instead of saying, why me? Try, what's this here to teach me? Instead of saying, I can't afford it, say, how can I afford it? Instead of saying, I'm stuck, say, what's my next move? Those small changes in wording change your altitude because they shift your focus from limitation to possibility. I've taught 4 years that success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. But those disciplines don't survive without the right attitude backing them. Your habits follow your attitude. Your future follows your habits. So if you want to go higher, don't start with the ladder. Start with the mind, because if your attitude is right, you'll keep climbing even when the steps get steep. Here's the truth about attitude. It doesn't really show up when things are easy. Anybody can smile in springtime. Anybody can be optimistic when the paycheck is big and the weather is fair. The test of attitude comes in winter. It comes when business is down, when friends turn away, when the cupboard looks empty. That's when the real measurement begins. Now here's where most people slip. They think the obstacle is the problem. But the obstacle is only half the story. The other half is how you respond to it. A weak attitude magnifies the obstacle until it looks impossible. A strong attitude shrinks the obstacle until it looks manageable. And the obstacle itself hasn't changed. It's the same mountain. What changed was the climber's view. I remember the early days of my career. When I was working in sales, sometimes I'd get a whole week without a single yes. I'd come home tired, discouraged. And the temptation was strong to blame the company, blame the product, blame the market. I was talking with Mr. Shoaf about this, and he said, Jim, don't let your attitude collapse. Just because the numbers don't favor you, this numbers will change, SESONS will change. But if your attitude crumbles, you will never stay long enough to see the shift. And that saved me. So how often do you excuse yourself with words like, it's just not your time, the odds are against you, or if only you had better brakes? Those phrases are poison. They sound harmless, but they rob you of responsibility. And once responsibility is gone, growth is gone. Excuses are the language of a low-altitude life. Don't wish away the struggle. Don't pray for lighter LOADS. Pray for a stronger back. Don't beg for an easy path. Build a better pair of shoes. The man who insists life should be fair will always be disappointed. But the man who accepts life's hardness and adjusts his attitude to meet it, he climbs. And isn't it true that most BREKTHRUGHS come disguised as BREKDOWNS? Think about it. You lose a job. That's the breakdown. But hidden inside is the push to start a business. You face rejection. That's the breakdown. But hidden inside is the lesson in resilience. You fall behind financially. That's the breakdown. But hidden inside is the discipline to handle money better. The attitude you bring. DTRMINES, whether you'll find the hidden gift or miss it completely. See how that works? Let me put it bluntly. Some people stop at OBSDACLES and call it destiny. Others hit the same obstacle and call it training. Which group do you belong to? That answer will tell me your future. More accurately than your background, your bank account, or your education. So here's the challenge from now on. Catch yourself when excuses rise up. Don't let them pass your lips. Replace them with determination. Instead of saying you can't because, start saying you will. Until instead of saying you would if, start saying you must so you will. This isn't just positive thinking. It's disciplined language that RESHAPES your reality. Because in the end, altitude isn't for the lucky. It's for the persistent. It's for the disciplined. It's for the ONES who decide that. Attitude is not negotiable. Attitude doesn't just shape your career. It shapes every area of your life. If all we talked about tonight was business, we'd miss the bigger truth. Because the same attitude that BUILDS a business also BUILDS a merit. The same attitude that grows wealth also STRNGTHNS health. Attitude is universal. COLOURS everything. Some people see money as evil. Their attitude tells them that if they get rich, they'll be greedy, or that prosperity means they're taking from someone else. With that outlook, they never pursue wealth with energy. But another person sees money as good, a tool, a servant, a resource. They believe that if they prosper, they can give, invest, and bless their family. Same dollars, different meaning, different altitude. I've met FOLKS who see exercise as punishment. They say they hate it, they can't stand it. It's too hard. With that mindset, they avoid it and their health suffers. But another person takes the same 30 minutes of exercise and views it as an investment, a gift to themselves, a way to honor the life they've been given. That attitude makes the sweat worth it. Not because exercise got easier, but because they saw it differently. Think about being a parent. If you see children as a burden, they'll drain you. But if you see them as a blessing, even their noise and mess become part of your joy. The children don't chain. The parent's attitude does. And the altitude of that family rises or falls with it. So we gotta watch our attitude and how we think. When it comes to our family, even spiritually, attitude plays a role. Some see discipline as bondage. Others see it as freedom. Some see faith as foolishness. Others see it as strength. And in each case, the belief, DTRMINES the experience. Now here's what I want you to notice. Attitude doesn't require outside permission. You don't need the economy's approval to adjust your attitude. You don't need your neighbor's consent. You don't need your boss to change first. Attitude is 100% internal. It's your decision. which means it's the most powerful lever you control. You might not control every outcome, but you control whether you stay bitter or get better. You control whether you complain or create. You control whether you retreat or advance. And over years, those choices build a destiny. So let me ask you, what's the altitude of your finance today? If it's low, check your attitude toward money. What's the altitude of your health? If it's low, check your attitude toward discipline. What's the altitude of your relationships? If they're struggling, check your attitude toward people. Because when attitude rises, altitude follows. And here's the good news. IT doesn't take a revolution to change altitude. It takes small daily adjustments. Just like the pilot, who shifts the nose of the plane by a few degrees. And HOURS, later the aircraft is hundreds of miles from where it would have been. Small shifts in attitude over time create massive difference in destiny. There comes a time when we have to stop treating attitude as optional. It's not a decoration. It's not something you put on when the sun is shining and set aside when the clouds roll in. Attitude is maturity. It's deciding how you'll see life before life decides for you. Now don't wait to start on this stuff. Some people delay their change in attitude thinking, I'll get serious next year. I'll straighten up when circumstances improve. I'll think more positively when things settle down. But here's the truth, CIRCUMSD rarely settle down. Life doesn't wait for you to adjust your attitude. If you don't decide now, you drift. And drifting never takes you upward. Life asks you to grow up. And one of the clearest signs of maturity is how you handle what you can't control. Children throw tantrums, adults make adjustments. Children complain when things aren't fair. Adults say, what can I do with what I've got? Children wait for rescue, adults build resilience. And all of that difference is wrapped in attitude. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. And attitude is the foundation the bridge rests on. Without the right attitude, you even step onto the bridge. You will stand on the shore, waiting for someone else to carry you across. But if you've settled your attitude, you'll walk that bridge no matter how shaky it feels. And I want to be direct here. Your family is counting on your attitude. Your children. Watch how you respond when things get tough. Your spouse feels the weight of your outlook. Your team at work is influenced by the atmosphere you carry. You may not realize it, but you are broadcasting your altitude through your attitude every single day. If it's low, IT pulls others down. If it's high, IT lifts them with you. So the question becomes a little more important. Will you rise or will you sink? Will you mature into someone who takes responsibility for the atmosphere you create? Or will you stay casual, careless, waiting for luck? Because casual attitude brings casualties. So don't wait, decide today. Set your attitude the way a pilot sets the nose of the plane. Aim higher, even a few degrees upward changes everything down the line. Because your future doesn't rise on chance. It rises on choice, and the choice is attitude. Picture yourself standing on a mountain path. The trail splits in two directions. One leads downward, it's easier. Smoother requires little effort. That's the path of excuses, complaints, bitterness. And the farther you go, the lower you end up. The other path is uphill, it's harder. It asks for sweat, it demands discipline. That's the path of gratitude. Responsibility DTRMIN. ATION. And the farther you go, the higher you climb. Which path you take is not chosen for you. It's chosen by you every day in every attitude. You choose gratitude instead of complaint today, and it lifts your mood. You choose persistence instead of quitting tomorrow, and it builds your resilience. You choose vision instead of despair next week, and it keeps you moving forward. Over months and years, those small choices become a towering altitude. But it begins with one decision. Right here, right now. To set your attitude high. So don't wait for the economy to get better. Don't wait for people to treat you better. Don't wait for luck. Take command of the one thing you control completely. Your attitude, because the truth isn't changing. Your attitude will either be the wings that lift you, or the weight that drags you, and you get to decide.